I'm so scared. I can feel my hands and feet shaking. Oh my God, I can't see. There's an engine start battery, which is not back in the engine compartment. That's under the nav station. I'll draw the engine over here. That's the starter motor, and that's the solenoid. And that's what I'm going after, is trying to figure out why sometimes when I push the push button on the helm control, sometimes it starts the motor and sometimes it doesn't. So there's my push button, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. So, first I'll give a shout out to my friend Ron, because he helped me talk through the troubleshooting. So probably every car, every boat has this wire. That's the big heavy gauge red line that goes to the starter motor. That's where the main current is coming from, or pass through. Almost every boat is going to have some sort of push button or key switch, and in my case I had one. In my case, I found it was only a 16 gauge wire, which made me a little nervous, and I think it's too small. I also found that the wire from the push button switch did not go directly to the solenoid. It went instead to a terminal board, which was mounted above the engine. It's right here. And it went like this. And it went like this, and then the wire left the bottom of that terminal board, and it went to another switch, which I hadn't known about, and then it went to the starter, or to the solenoid. This switch was the not in gear switch. Okay, so if the engine was in gear, then that switch is open and you can't start the motor. Okay. Oh, baby. Hey there. So you might think that I'm unhappy about sitting here being neck deep, crawling over an engine in which everything is very difficult to access. But I wouldn't trade this for anything. I mean, I'll be underway in another week or so. Gonna head for the anchorage over in Isla Mujeres, and then I'm going to head south. And I've got things I need to do to get set up for that, of course. But boat-wise, this is the last job that is considered must-do before I'm back underway. So don't think for a moment that I'm unhappy or I'm bitchy about having to do work. That's part of the deal when you buy an old boat. You're gonna have old skeletons to uncover and things to resolve. And this is just one of them. Oh boy, access is very difficult down there. I need an army of trained squirrels. Well, I have to admit, I'm having a friggin' dinosaur day. This device here is a DC to DC charger. I know there's light behind me, which makes me look like an angel. I get that. It's a 12 volt to 12 volt charger. It comes off the lithium battery, and it goes to the engine start battery. In the end, and I've learned today that the engine start battery voltage is low, and this charger is only outputting about 11.9 amps or 11.9 volts, which is too low. I want it to be about 13.2, 13.3. Okay, but you can't adjust it. You have to update it. You'll load an app. Just a dinosaur moment. So I had to go to the app store, find the app, load the app. Then I had to do a firmware update, and that's in the hopes that I can figure out how to update the output voltage. You can feel the pain with me. Rawr, dinosaur not happy. So I'm just gonna. It was at 11.9. I'm running that puppy up to about 13.3. Opinions, of course, are welcome on that. I'm making that shit up. How about 13.25? Okay, and I got the little green thing. So we'll just see. We'll just see. So anyway, so you people at Victron, I get it. I get it. That's just the way the world is. Everything is run on apps now. Everything is run on Bluetooth, and that's just the way it is. So. But it's still an unhappy dinosaur day. Well, I got the sail back from the repair shop, and I thought I better put it back on. And yes, there's a thin layer of grease there. I could not find dry silicone grease here. I could not find it, so I went with a very, very thin layer of other grease. So, anyway, the sail's repaired, going back on. So I cleaned up all the metal work. The boom itself it's kind of looks like it's got leprosy or something. It's just corrosion, you know, aluminum corrosion. Appears to be structurally sound, no concerns about the boom itself, but it does have a lot of corrosion. I had even thought about sanding it and then repainting it. I see that it had been painted. I'm looking at a paint job here. You see, I don't know how to really clean that corrosion best except with sandpaper and wire wheels and take off the brass fittings and then put them back on. I don't know, but I would like to paint the boom just so it looks nice, you know. Why not? Okay, so the sail is in the boom track. It's not tugged tight yet, but we don't need to do that yet. I want to get this in first. So the pin goes here, and that's the hole it came from. This is going to be a wrestling match. Well, you know I don't like climbing the mast, but I did it anyway. And there's a few jobs up there I had to do, but I did enjoy, frankly, looking down at the boat. I think that's a good-looking ship. Okay, so here's a problem. This guy is the obstruction, and I'm an idiot because I knew it was 14 millimeters, and I brought a 14 millimeter box wrench, and I brought a socket wrench for the other, and I can't get the socket over top of the head of the bolt because it can't fit below the shroud, and I don't want to loosen the shroud, of course, because that holds my mast up. I needed 2 box wrenches, or like a vice grips and a box wrench. Now I have to go down and come all the way back up, and frankly, I'm just not interested enough, so I'm going to demob it, take it back out. I'm better off with this thing out than in. While I'm up here, assuming my shaking hands will allow to film, this is the Punta Sam. You can see a lot of condos over here. The marina is called Marina V&V. It used to have another name, but it's Marina V&V now. And this is my spot. This is me. I freaking hate doing this. This is a job for young people, I think. Well, young or old, I had to go back up the sail one more time, armed with my trusty angle grinder to grind off the last couple of interferences from the mast. Those screw heads, I couldn't bust them loose, and so I ground them loose. And one funny thing that happened was these red hot screw heads will drop, right? And they will fall down, of course, and they fall someplace on the boat. Question is where? So there's the burn hole, and what's under there? Diesel fuel. Yay! What could go wrong, right, guys? Okay, this boat is a cutter rig, and that's the stay sail deployed. I pulled it up only to inspect it, you know, and leave it out, make sure it's dry and clean and in good repair. The boom has been hauled up with the topping lift only so I can open the window, and normally would be further down with the window closed. But I'm trying to air out the boat today. It's been very, very humid lately. Okay, so the question on the stay sail is, you can see it there, what is the function of the 3-stranded line that runs up the first 3 hanks, and it's tied to canyons. So it starts there, runs through the hank, through the next hank, through the next hank, and then it ties off right there. So the question is, what's its function? I could clearly pull that down like a reefing line, you know, at the head of the sail, but I don't have something similar on the luffy end. Seems like there would be a ring sewn into the fabric at the exact same point as the top of that reef line. So I'm a little confused about that. Okay. Well, work crews reported that the port side cockpit locker has been rehabbed and that job is complete. Yeah, over on the port side, you can see what we got. It's just a big open space, and it's not bad. You know, that's not bad at all. You got you know, the stuff, the cables are of course cut off. They were cut there. That's from the wind generator, the windmill. The yellow thing in the foreground is a manual bilge pump, which I'm going to figure out a way to test. And you can see over here, that's the compressor unit for the refrigerator, which does not work. This is the AC power supply. This is the DC power supply, the white line for the fridge, but I'm currently using that here as my auto helm power supply. That's a hull fitting that needs to be removed and is chopped off and fiberglassed over. And this is a plywood shelf that has, well, seen better days, so I'm going to physically remove that right now. Those hull fittings back there we're going to keep because they're in good repair. However, the smaller of the 2 hoses needs to be abandoned, and I'll relocate another hose same size to there, but I digress. So this is what the locker looks like now. You can see the bottom has got the curved shape, so it really has been a pain in the ass to properly store stuff, but now I can put cans and bottles and things like that on the shelf. Okay, well, I left the notch for my shop vac. There's still room against this bulkhead to drop in my small scraps of plywood. So even these very, very tall bottles of oil, they'll fit in there. Honest. I swear, we don't lie on this channel. Perfecto. And on the news, non-skid was reported to have been applied on the starboard side, right here behind me, cockpit exit. This closes a corrective action from a previous recordable injury. This is what you get. You got a raised portion with nice clean edges and curves with the non-skid and the smooth part. And I'll tell you, this corner right here has been a trouble spot for me. I've slipped on this 3 times so far, and one of them actually had an injury that hurt like hell. So we're going to beef up the non-skid in this here. Okay, I just put this sand down, or the paint down. The first coat, that's just a primer, but I'm immediately hitting it with a little bit of sand. And my sand, I'm just doing it by pinches. I'm not doing anything fancy here. That's the surface right there in the corner. So now, I'll let that dry up a bit, and I will get the roller. I'm done cutting. Now let's get the roller, and then I'll roll out the rest of it, and maybe put some more sand down when I'm done rolling the primer. And work crews reported a ship-to-ship collision in port. And I'm going to roll the footage for that and just let you watch it all for yourself. It takes a while, so before I run that, we'll go ahead and say goodbye. I appreciate your viewership. I know we're gaining subscribers little by little, and we're getting ready to be back on the way. So the next video you ought to see out of me should be sailing this boat on the deep blue. And we think we're off to Guatemala, but you never really know. So So I'm happy to have been here. I've enjoyed Mexico, and life is all right. So we're all good. So take care, everyone, and we'll now roll the footage for the ship collision. Yeah. Take care. Well, that was as close as I've come to a collision, I think. That giant catamaran there with no mast is going back to get its mast. And I don't know what's wrong with the engines, but that boat, you can see they're dead sticking it. They've got a power boat in the front and one in the back, trying to control this thing and move it up the canal. And it just now passed right by me. Its clearance on me was about 3 feet, 1 meter. You know, and of course, it wasn't done with the precision of a bunch of, you know, Navy or you know, commercial pilots instead of Port of Tampa, Port of Norfolk, when the pilot has radio communication with all the tugboats, and these guys are just doing it by shouting at each other. There's nobody clearly in command, so it's just a mess. So, and the whole time these damn tourist boats continue to try to squeeze out while these guys are going by. This tourist boat began to move out. It's just senseless. Anyway, maybe there's some bikinis on board. Sailing channels have to have bikinis, but all I see is dudes. Anyway, I'm clear. I'm happy that they're clearing me. Well, here's one thing you never want to see. Is a boat so damn close. They're having difficulty with the tow. I think the towboat ought to have a long line attached dead center, but you can see the towboat has its lines on the corners, and boats on the catamaran are tied to the corners, causing him to twist all over the place. And he just needs to get one line and just go. Oh, no, we're good. I was talking to the owner of this boat. He's building it for resale, so he's basically it's a tourist boat. It's made for over 100 passengers. Okay, now he's getting close. He's twisting again, and he's gonna hit me again. Oh dear.
Dale. Por la boya.
He's got to go forward. He's got to go. Could be doing this.
Aguántala.
Don't go.
Dale, país, adelante.
Oh, no, what happened? Did it break? I don't know. Oh, no, no, oh, no, no.
Mira, pasa aquí, Que ya está bien.
No.
Cuidado que atrás de ustedes.
No, it's not okay.
Voy a darle allá, espera. Oh, ahí ponte verga allá.
Yeah, so that was them hitting my ship. And he's going to hit this guy too. He's going to hit another one. You can see them twisting. They just twisted the living shit out of this thing. He's going to hit again. This is how he's progressing up the canal. Twisting, 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 twisting. And then 20 people start screaming alarm, and then he backs down. See, and now the guy in the back, now he's tugging the back, and then but they tug too much, and then it overcorrects, and then they're going to go hit the guy on the opposite side. So they hit me. He hit my wooden pole that my dip sounder was on at the top and broke the tie wraps off. And I don't know if it had to dangle by the cable or not. I didn't get to see that. He absolutely hit the end of my davits and the whole thing's buckled up. So I don't know if they're fucked or not. I have to go down and I'll inspect the transom. But for now, I'm just watching the comedy show here. This is a perverse kind of comedy. I should have gotten good and drunk first, huh? But I haven't drank. What he needs to do is have one single line at the very center of the bow of that boat and at the very center of the transom of his towboat, and he's got to just pull and get forward motion, not and drag like a sea anchor, you know, on the back end. But it is. So you can see it's happening again. They just are doing this all the way up the canal. Somebody's gonna get their dumbass hurt. Or some boat's really gonna get damaged, you know. And all the boat owners that are here are nervous. I try to tell them that this is story mi casa. You know, this is not just a toy boat for me. This is my home. You know. And nobody's doing anything malicious. I just don't understand what the towboat is doing. The way they're just twisting their way up the canal is beyond my belief. Yeah, so I can't explain why they're doing what they're doing. You know, it's really, I've never seen a boat operated like that or towed that way. Here it goes again, you know. Yeah. I was in the water actually. I had just jumped in the water with my snorkel and my scrubbing brush, and I was going to clean the hull. And then I noticed this guy's proceeding up the channel. And at first I was just watching for fun. They almost hit that guy, but they did not hit him. And they did hit me on the back of my davit. And if this sport fisherman thinks he's in the clear, history shows he's not, because they tend to twist and twist, and then the guy in the back will tug, and then the catamaran goes backwards a bit, and they are just making such horribly slow progress. So I was on the transom there, and I stepped clear. I mean, there's a point at which you have to think, look, it is my home, but it's also just a boat. You know, something's going to get damaged. It's better than losing a finger or an arm, because the power, the forces involved here, of course, are enormous. So once that big old, I don't know how many tons the catamaran is, but once she starts moving, you know, she's not going to stop when your finger gets in the way. So just chop it right off. See lots of nervous people. Shit, yeah. The towboat skipper doesn't inspire confidence, and here, you know, my number one complaint is not with his methods, but the fact that he's not in command. There doesn't seem to be any one person in control of this evolution. That's my number one complaint. I think now they're just bringing him to the fuel dock. It looks like. I don't know what they're doing now, or maybe they're dead sticking it. But I think I'm in the clear. I'm going to go ahead and get back in the water and finish my scrubbing.